Thank you to everybody joining us, both live and virtually, for a Merchandising 101 class. This is put on by Graffiti Park. Our mission is to connect as many artists to campus as possible, and we're doing this at our headquarters, the Ocho, where we do pretty much all of our programming. We sell a little bit of paint here. This is where we operate for our headquarters currently, and where we teach all these classes. So today we're going to be talking about merchandising. It's one of my favorite things in the world. The reason I am allowed, I guess, or have enough experience to teach this class is because Dan will kind of laugh at me, but I love just making absolutely everything Graffiti Park related. You'll see kind of here in the display case, we've made everything from wristbands to rolling trays to hats to beanies to bags, bandanas, and more. Anything and everything we've kind of individually sourced and figured out some of the hoops and hurdles to get through in order to merchandise them. And so this talk, if you will be a summation of kind of what we've learned. So first and foremost, you want to start with your why. Like anything else, like in the business world and the business class that we've taught earlier, the first thing that we'll always tell you is to start out with why. Because if your why is to make the coolest, most badass, like family only player edition, if you will, certain merchandise to give out to your family. If this is swag, like t-shirts to hand out or wristbands, or they'll be just a little bit different. Or if this is just something to attach to interactions. So if you like stickers to hand out with your business cards and making sure that your business cards look the same as your stickers, look the same as your t-shirts, make sure everything is kind of coincides. So also, if you're going to start this with the intention of making money, the processes for kind of getting some of these things done can be streamlined for you in a variety of different ways, as opposed to if you're trying to make something that's going to last forever. Yeah, leave it at that. So pretty much all of your merch is going to fall into two categories. That's going to be either your on-demand category, which is making one-of-one things. You're making them usually after the order comes in. That way you're not losing any money on the front end. Or you can do them mass production-wise, where you're ordering a bunch of them and then you're selling shirts, say, out of your car, out of an office, yada yada, selling them individually, and then you're on the hook for whatever your money is, your sunk cost is beforehand or after. The reason I bring this up is for the sales use and tax license, the seller's permit, the wholesaler's license. Those are all the same exact things. That's essentially just a deed that comes from the city of Las Vegas or on Silver Flume. If you guys have watched that starting a business class that we taught here as well, that's got a bunch of information about it, because this is essentially a license that says you're allowed to buy and resell any items, clothing, wholesale, anything along those lines. They're completely free to get the license, and then it's $15 per location of everything that you're selling at. So provided you only have one billing license, you're getting caught $15 for it along with your business license fees. And then you're essentially allowed to order from any of the major wholesaler locations or companies. That really opens up your repertoire of things that you're able to offer as far as items and merchandise goes. So the reason that I say is that you guys need to start with your why is depending on the quantity, a lot of things are going to change. So we'll take just a normal method here and kind of go through each one of these different techniques, I guess, if you will, or these different machines that you can do the things that we're talking about. And then I've definitely got some Graffiti Park shirts to kind of show you the differences in things as well. So we'll start off first and foremost with screen printing machines. These are going to be the ones that we used for the Graffiti Park shirts and these ones. Your screen printing machines are usually going to be those big rotating circular I guess printing machines that drop down. You kind of pull them at a certain amount of paint over a cutout and a filling or in your vinyl wrap, and essentially it stays on to clothes the way that a lot of you guys will know that paint sticks on to actual clothes. Is when it's on there, it's not going to come off. It may fade a little bit, like chip off a little bit after 100 washes or something, but it's on there usually pretty firm to stay. So the majority of shirts that you'll see that are just one color or just one only have like a very, very small amount of colors in them, those ones are going to be using screen printing machines. They have what's called D2G, and D2G stands for direct to garment. So I'll show you some of these ones. Some of our first shirts, these are printed D2G. So what that essentially means is that it's like a printer. Think of your normal printer where you're putting paper in it and it prints out and the ink literally just goes very thinly across the layer of the piece of paper. It does the same thing on a t-shirt. So with direct to garment, the reason that they do that is because you're able to get a lot more like colors into your design. As you can see, our logo, it's kind of a pain in the ass to print out. It's 9 different colors. So if you go somewhere and you try and get things screen printed with 9 different colors, it's going to cost a lot of money because they need to go through and each individual color is going to be one pass on their machine. Which is why screen printing is awesome if you want it to stay a while, but you have like limited colors. And DTG is a lot easier to print on demand. So this is going to be your one of ones. There's a bunch of different companies now. Printify. Minx just talked about another one, like something Ninja something. But essentially is all of those direct-to-garment printers, what they're doing is they're taking one piece of clothing and they're running it through the printer, so you have much smaller minimums on stuff like this. I personally like direct-to-garment printing a lot. You can get by with 80% of the stuff that you're going to use essentially, just because it's going to be the cheapest. It's going to stay pretty well for the price point that you're going to get it at. And again, you have a lot of different colors. So I'll put that one here. Next up, we'll talk about the heat press, or DTF, down to vinyl, direct to fabric rather. So these ones, I was putzing around looking for a variety of different companies to buy some of these things from. I'll pull out a couple of examples. So your DTF or your heat press, you'll see our heat press is right here. It's pretty simple. Think of this as like a big iron up on top, and the bottom is just a flat board just so that you can set things down so that it's heat tempered, and all you do is close the handle and it heats the very top of it down, kind of like iron-on. So if anybody's familiar with the iron-on presses, from like the little iron that your mom would print out a piece of, you know, a photo of you on your face, and then they would iron them onto an actual t-shirt. DTF is essentially the same exact thing. So they take a clear film the same way, and it's vinyl wrap, and they cut the wrap backwards and inside out, and then they give you a clear vinyl sheet of wax paper that essentially goes up on the top that are pretty heat resistant. So these ones, again, the DTF came after screen printing, came after D2G, because up till about, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, there was pretty much only these two, and direct-to-garment was even still getting kind of new. It was like new wave stuff, I guess, if you will. So going with the DTF, the direct-to-film or direct-to-fabric, they printed out on a film. You used to have to go through like 3 different layers of this to get them down, and then rub them through with like it was like a sandpaper kind of thing, and it's chemical irritant. And now you don't have to do any of that. So all you have to do is pre-treat the shirts. You pick them up, you kind of like heat press them, you put them on there just blank with nothing on them, get them all set up, wrinkle free, and then you just set one of these ones down and you go right up over the top of them. So these ones are really amazing. That heat press is super inexpensive. We got it for like less than 150 bucks on Amazon. You can make just about anything under the sun. It works a lot better with cotton shirts, but that's going to be your easiest way, because there's a couple of amazing companies that we'll get into at the bottom that offer DTF printing. So this is probably going to be your cheapest way and your most like at home, I guess, kind of way, as if you want. And as long as you're only ordering cotton shirts, cotton everything, you'll have no problems. Cotton has a different heating point. It can go up to like 380 degrees or something like that, whereas polyester blends are a little funky. But they essentially use heat presses on almost all of the clothes that you'll get from a store, get from really anything, and then they're using just like these vinyl transfer wraps. So the benefit with doing stuff like that is that you can create your logo on just about anything. You can get a bunch of these ones printed out. I think we got 1,000 of these or 100 of these. It was like 16 bucks or something ridiculous. So if you have your wholesaler's license and you're ordering all of your materials from somewhere else and you're sourcing them yourself, you can make shirts extraordinarily inexpensive. Again, another one of those benefits of that DTF printing is that you can get really intricate designs that have little bits of fades at the end, and you can print out like stuff with very little detail work that usually it takes screen printing in order to get. So like this grass here at the bottom would work a lot better on a screen printing thing than it would on a direct-to-garment, just because you want them clearer, but then direct-to-film essentially is like the best of both worlds that adds on to the shirt. So then these ones, we just made the design, you get them printed out on that vinyl wrap again. These ones are a little bit more expensive once you get up into the big stuff to fit on the back of the piece, or on the back of your shirts. But again, we made this shirt and probably it was less than 10 bucks for the actual shirt. You have $1 and maybe $6 on the back graphics. So your long sleeve t-shirts that are good to probably up to over 100 washes for less than $20. So as if you're looking to merchandise your own t-shirts but do something inexpensive that you can also make a bunch of, I'd say heat press is probably your go-to, but there's obviously it depends on a lot of the different stuff that you're looking to do with them. So we'll keep going. Embroidery, those are going to be like more the shirt you'll see me wearing now. So this is on a polo. Embroidery just means that there's actual stitching over all of the different colors and stuff that would be in here. Embroidery is my personal favorite. I think it looks the best. You're able to customize so much more because anything you do digitally, it just goes through a program, changes it up a little bit, and spits out another image for you. Embroidery is usually kind of expensive though, just because of either the labor for somebody to hand stitch it, it'll be a lot more, but they have some pretty solid companies right now. Racomba is like the most popular one, I would say. They're like kind of hefty as far as the price of equipment goes. You're looking at anywhere from say like $1,000 would probably be their cheapest machine, all the way up to about $6 is some of the stuff I've looked. And then some of the shops here and in town, they'll have those embroidery machines, but they'll have maybe 12 of them or 15 of them. So if you're looking to do a hat run of say over 100, or they can crank them out pretty quickly, and the quality on the print shop is usually going to be pretty solid. A couple of company options, I would say obviously shop local first. Revive Vegas and Machine Studios does awesome work when it comes to printing out any sorts of stickers, vinyl wraps, like anything under the sun. If you go to some of them, they may do wheat paste too. I don't know. Check in with them. There's a couple of national conglomerates that we've used, Sticker Mule and Sticker App, just based on whoever's running the biggest sale, and the fact that they have a dedicated like artist team essentially there to fulfilling orders. So if you have to make certain tweaks, or if they tell you that the resolution for your picture isn't going to be good enough, they can kind of tweak and help out a little bit on that side. Stalls is going to be the company that we use for all of our DTF film transfers and papers. They're an awesome company. They're pretty cheap. They'll send you a sample to your house for free of what you're looking to do, which is awesome. We get most of our shirts from either Bella Canvas, SNS, or Sanmar. Again, you get access to those just normal as a consumer, but once you have a business license and you have a sales remediation tax form, or your wholesaler's license for lack of a better term, they can give you a wholesaler account, and then you'll see the prices drop significantly. So the thing I love about these companies is that they're going to have no minimums for them, and they have a really wide variety of products and services that they offer. So everything Bella Canvas, SNS, and Sanmar, you can do like Carhartt, you can do Patagonia, North Face, like really good industrial brands as well. Anything that they offer in their repertoire, you can order them, no minimums to your house, one of ones. So this makes your pricing, if you're going to do anything specific, special, a lot down, just because the embroidery machines or the embroidery places are more than likely going to charge you extra money to source the same materials. So it's easier to just get your own business license, get your wholesaler's license, create an account on any one of these companies, and then bring all of your stuff to the company that's going to do the work for you. It's a great way to get around some of the costs involved. And then Progressive Promotions, we wouldn't be really anywhere without Sherry Hoffman. She started her own company and then now works for Progressive Promotions, and so they're customizing like wholesalers boxes, if you will, like thank you notes and stuff to your employees, and they've put together a bunch of different packages. They're the experts if you're looking for anything. Like we've looked at stress balls, we've looked at post-it notes, just all sorts of different kinds of merchandise. So now when you go to look for creating something, you have a bunch of different ideas that you can play with. So color decisions, like usually if you'll go to somewhere, they'll say, hey, we carry shirts in white and black, and like we do X, Y, and Z. I'll give you a perfect example of this. I really only like, they're called dad shirts, if you will. They are pocketed t-shirts like so. So you'll see the pocket in the middle, a small design on the front, and then like a big design on the back. Believe it or not, that's actually a pretty difficult ask out of some of the t-shirt printers here in town, and it shouldn't be. But most of them, if they're screen printing, the pocket is fine. If you're going to do direct to garment, a lot of companies don't like doing pocketed shirt designs because sometimes they can print sideways or they can print up or down, whatever the case is. We haven't really found a company that's been great at it yet. So those are some of the limitations to think about. And then as well as is if you're going to go to a company that only has screen printing or only does D2G printing, you just want to make sure that you can do your design the best. So for like these ones, we can order these in a screen print from DTF from stalls if we wanted to, and then we could do something on the back and still do direct-to-garment printing. So you can switch it up if you want to add in some really cool features to your streetwear, to your art, to whatever you're merchandising. You definitely can. I would just keep that in mind as you're kind of going through the process. So color decisions, if you get your own wholesaler's license, you can essentially buy whatever clothes you like and then go and get those ones customized. It's a great way. That's how we get our Nike sponsored graffiti park polos, if you will. Your shirts, your hats, again, you can go out shopping all of them. You can go to the swap meet and buy a bunch of t-shirts and then go and have those ones printed out, but it's always easier just to get your own wholesaler's license. It takes maybe 10 minutes after you've already got a business license. And it really alleviates a lot of these problems just because you will always get the best price if you're bringing in your own stuff. So much so that there are some companies that won't accept you bringing in your own stuff because they know that they're not going to make the money off of you for just your price per garment, as opposed to they would if they were upselling you like $5 a t-shirt or whatever some of them have done in the past to us. So don't make the mistake we did. Find that out early. Let's see here. Again, we say start backwards because then going through all of these issues, you have such a much better idea. Just for example, like tie-dye shirts are a big one that we'll kind of reference. If you want some cool tie-dye stuff, your options are pretty limited from any of those companies. And so I would always just think about that beforehand. Dan and I, we've tie-dyed our own shirts before we sent them in to go and get them direct-to-garment printed, and that was a pain in the ass. I stained my bathtub. Don't do that.
5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, 5-gallon buckets for sure if you're doing any tie-dyeing. But think about that in the process because it'd be a real shame like if you went and you took all your t-shirts to go and get embroidered and then you were going to tie-dye them after, and then the embroidery gets tie-dyed as well, as opposed to doing that the process flipped the other way. If you're doing one-of-one shirts, there's some awesome companies that you can go to. Printify is one of them, to where you just upload whatever picture whatever you want on the t-shirts and they can order them one-of-one. If you want to package them out and do say 10 of them, it may be cheaper for you to buy a heat press and then you have them forever. If you're going to do 100 of them, it's probably best to go to a shop, bring them your own t-shirts, and then just ask them what the pricing is per t-shirt. Just because, again, even when it comes to limitations in reality, there's a bunch of different companies here in town that'll tell you, oh yeah, I'll print out on your t-shirt, or I'll do this, or and you definitely just want to ask a couple of those potent questions, like, okay, well, what kind of printing are you going to use? How are you going to put it on a t-shirt? What kind of shirts do you use? Because we want to make sure that you guys get the nicest, most comfortable athletic wear stuff that's slim fit, you know, and that's something that you really want to have a bunch of pride handing off into somebody, because there's really nothing better than when somebody gets like a piece of merch from you and it looks professional, it looks crisp, it looks clean done, it's in its own box with, you know, like its own special package, and like it just feels real nice when people are like, oh, okay, like I didn't realize when you said you did art that like this was the caliber or the quality of the stuff that you're producing. And so you just want to stand by all your stuff. Let's see here. I will shout out Trippy Pidgey, did a great job of this. He just recently, he went out, he got his own t-shirts, he made sure he got heavyweight cotton t-shirts. He had a specific design to his art that if you see him at Trippy Pidgey on Instagram, it's a very specific kind of art, and then he did one color patterns on different t-shirts. So his white t-shirts had a blue pattern on it, where his tan ones had a white pattern on it. And they stood out, they looked amazing, or it was like a birch green color. But that's like a perfect option of, he had a pretty intricate design and instead he went one color with it, so they screen printed it, and he now can make a decent amount of money as in your profit margin, if you will, for your shirts. And the only reason we're telling you all this stuff is so that you can flush it all out before you go down the rabbit hole that Dan and I went down trying to find all this stuff. For your final designs, for your logo, I would say make sure that you have the cleanest, crispest PNG with a transparent background photo that you can find. That's just about everybody will ask you for that if you're going to print anything, whether that be beanies, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, the whole nine. What you're going to want is just the most clearest, transparent PNG back for it. I think it's like 300 DPI if you want to get real technical with it, but just make sure it's clean and crisp. You may have your own individual art specs depending on the company. It's not uncommon for somebody to ask you for a logo with your bleed. And all that really means is that there's the printable area, which would be a circle. Your bleed will be anything that extends out of that circle but isn't a hard line. So the easiest way I know how to describe that is like for one of these W's, if this was going to be printed on a white background, your bleed would come over on the outside so that the letter continued, so that it didn't get chopped off, and so that when the machines are printing it, it doesn't print a hard line, it extends it a little bit. It doesn't really make sense until you actually look at like the outsides of them, and in that's why, I don't know if we have a version of that shirt. Oh yeah. The reason for that is like your bleed, we have one of these ones, just the Las Vegas Writers, and there's still lines underneath them. Those lines were supposed to be bleed lines, but instead they got printed on the t-shirt. And so they were just lines that extended out past the ends of them, and instead now they are on the t-shirts forever. So I would just say is make sure you know that like the bleed is going to be anything that goes outside of it, that you want the ink there just because it continues on and it's a bigger portion outside of what's getting printed, but that way you don't get hard lines or any gaps or weirdness in your printing. As always, definitely shop locally. These are pretty much all of the lessons that we have learned kind of going through this.